Hello there, fifth graders. Welcome to your Chapter 10 practice test. We're going to do this practice test together so that we can go over everything from Chapter 10 one more time before the Chapter 10 test, which is tomorrow. Okay, these first few questions are all vocabulary. It says the result, that means the answer to a division problem, is called and it's the quotient. Now, these are the only kinds that you won't have to use your scratch paper for vocabulary questions. Everything else, we'll use our scratch paper for every single problem. Next, the number that divides into the dividend, that's the divisor. The number that is being divided is the dividend. Operations that undo each other, such as multiplication and division, are called inverse operations. A fraction with a number, fraction, I wrote this wrong. It's supposed to say, by the time you do this, this will probably be fixed. The word shouldn't be there. It should say fractions with a numerator of 1. This whole thing's worded wrong. Anyways, what are fractions called when they have a numerator of 1? They're called unit fractions. A number that has a whole number part and a fraction part is a mixed number. A number that represents part of a whole or part of a set is a fraction. Okay, that's the vocab. And those are the same vocab words you'll be tested on tomorrow for your Chapter 10 test. Now, this first one says 1/3 times 21. So you definitely would want to write this down on your scratch paper. 1/3 times 21. Now, anytime you're multiplying a fraction by a whole number, the first thing you want to do is give the whole number a denominator of 1. And then you just multiply straight across. Numerator times numerator. 1 times 21 is 21. Denominator times denominator. 3 times 1 is 3. Now, can we leave this answer the way it is? No, because it's an improper fraction. So we need to divide the denominator into the numerator. And if you're confused about which number goes in which space, just make them both hop in there. Whoop. And so the top number goes in the house, the bottom number goes outside of the house. You're dividing 21 by 3. Now, how many times can 3 fit into 21? 7 times 3 is 21. So 3 can fit into 21 7 times. 21 minus 21 is 0. So the answer is 7. Now you want to box off the work you did for the first question. And then you'll put your next bit of work right under it. It says 1/2 times 26. When you're multiplying a fraction by a whole number, the first thing you do is give the whole number a denominator of 1. Then you multiply straight across. 1 times 26 is 26. 2 times 1 is 2. Now, this is an improper fraction, so we have to divide the denominator into the numerator. 2 can fit into 2 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 is smaller than 2. Now we bring down the 6. 2 can fit into 6 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. So the answer is 13. Next, we box off what we did here. And this next question says 1/5 times 3/8. When we're multiplying with fractions, we don't have to find common denominators like we do when we're adding and subtracting fractions. All we have to do is multiply our numerator times our numerator and our denominator times our denominator. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 8 is 40. Okay, and we see that right here, 3/40. It's already in simplest form because 3 can't divide evenly into 40, and since 3 is a prime number, there won't be any other GCF. Next, 1/2 times 7/8. Again, we just multiply our numerator times our numerator. 1 times 7 is 7. and our denominator times our denominator, 2 times 8 is 16. And we know 7/16 is already in simplest form because 7 is a prime number and it can't fit into 16. So the answer is 7/16. Now we have 3 1/4 times 3/5. When we're multiplying a mixed number times a fraction, the first thing we do is we change the mixed number into an improper fraction. And we do that by multiplying the whole number times the denominator and then adding the numerator. That becomes our new numerator and the denominator stays the same. So 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13. The denominator stays the same, so it's 13/4 times 3/5. Now, 13 times 3 is 39. 4 times 5 is 20. So now we have 39/20. We can't leave that answer the way it is because it's an improper fraction, so we have to divide the denominator into the numerator. 20 can fit into 39 only one time because double 20 would be 40. That's too big. 1 times 20 is 20. 9 minus 0 is 9. 3 minus 2 is 1. Whatever your remainder is becomes your numerator. The divisor is your denominator. 19/20 is already in simplest form, so the answer is 1 19/20. That's what we have right here, 1 19/20. Next, 1 1/8 times 3 2/3. Let's box off the work we did right here. And again, why do we do that? It's so that when we get to the end of the test, we don't just press submit. We go back over all of our work, and it'll be easier to find our work for each question if the work we did for each question is boxed off separate from all of the other work. We have 1 1/8 times 3 2/3. And these are both mixed numbers, so we have to change them into improper fractions before we multiply. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So 1 1/8 becomes 9/8. Times 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. So 3 2/3 becomes 11/3. Now we multiply. 9 times 11 is 99. 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, we can't leave that answer the way it is because it's an improper fraction. We have to divide the denominator into the numerator. Now, how many times can 24 fit into 99? Well, 2 can fit into 9 4 times, so we'll try a 4. 4 times 4 is 16, carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 99 minus 96 is 3. So our numerator is 3, our denominator is 24. 4 3/24. Now, can 3/24 be simplified? Well, we know 3 times 8 is 24, which means 3 can fit evenly into 24, and we know 3 can fit evenly into itself. So 3 and 24 share the GCF of 3. So we need to divide the numerator and denominator by the GCF 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Now, we simplified the fraction part of this mixed number and changed it into 1/8. Now we need to give that simplified fraction back to the whole number. So the final answer is 4 1/8. Now we'll box that off. Find the answer, 4 1/8. It's right here. Next, we have 2 divided by 1/6. I'm going to go back up to the top of my scratch paper and do that right here. 2 divided by 1/6. Now remember, when we're dividing with a whole number and a fraction, we give the whole number a denominator of 1. We reverse the sign from division to multiplication, and we flip the second fraction. So it's going to change from 1/6 to 6/1. Now we multiply straight across. 2 times 6 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. And 12 over 1 is the same thing as 12. So that's our final answer, 12. We'll box off what we did there. Next, 1/3 divided by 5. So we give the whole number a denominator of 1. Now we need to reverse the division to multiplication and flip the second fraction from 5 over 1 to 1 over 5. The first fraction stays the same. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 5 is 15. So it's 1/15. We're getting pretty close to being finished. Now we have some word problems. Clarence is working on a project for social studies. He has a piece of poster board that needs to be divided equally into 1/3 foot sections. The poster board is 4 feet wide. How many sections will Clarence have on the poster board? Okay, so now we reread the problem. Clarence is working on a project for social studies. He has a piece of poster board that needs to be divided. So we know we're dividing. It needs to be divided equally. We know it's into 1/3 foot sections. The poster board is 4 feet wide. How many sections will Clarence have on the poster board? Now, if I was going to underline, I would underline 1/3 foot sections. I would underline 4 feet wide, and I would underline the question, how many sections will Clarence have on the poster board? I would also underline the word divided because it tells me what operation to do. Now, with a problem like this, we want to think, what's being divided? The poster board is being divided into sections. And the poster board is 4 feet wide. So 4 is being divided by something. So how big is each piece? Each piece is 1/3 foot long. So 4 is being divided by 1/3. So this is the expression that represents the problem. The 4-foot poster board divided into 1/3 foot sections. So we have to give the whole number a denominator of 1. We're going to rewrite it because we have to reverse the division to multiplication, and we have to flip the second fraction from 1/3 to 3 over 1. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. 12 over 1 is the same thing as 12. So 12 is the final answer. I'll box off that work. So it's 12 sections. Here's another word problem, and I'm going to notice how much work I've done on my scratch paper. The entire piece of scratch paper is filled up, and that's what your scratch paper should look like too. When I'm over halfway through the test, I have about 3 or 4 questions left, and you should fill up an entire side of the scratch paper before you finish the test too. That is, if you're doing all the work you can to do the best you can, that means you're solving every single problem on your scratch paper. You're not trying to do anything in your head, and you're not guessing on them. Okay, next side. Samantha measured the dimensions of a rectangular poster frame. It was 3/4 yards long and 1/2 yards wide. What was the area of the frame? And then I give you a hint because we haven't gotten into our geometry chapter yet, although this is a 4th grade standard too. The formula for finding area is length times width equals area. So since this problem asks for the area, since it gives us the length, it's 3/4 yards long, and since it gives us the width, 1/2 yard wide, and since we have to multiply length times width to get the area, it's pretty clear what we need to do here. We need to multiply the length, 3/4, times the width, which is 1/2. And when we're multiplying fractions, we just multiply the numerators together. 3 times 1 is 3. And we multiply the denominators together. 4 times 2 is 8. So it's 3/8 square yard. I'm going to box that off. At Middle Avenue School, 1/30 of the students are on the track team. The track coach offered to buy pizza or subs for everyone on the team. Of the students for whom he bought food, 3/5 ordered pizza. What fraction of the students at Middle Avenue School ate pizza? Now, remember that in fraction world, times means of. So 1/3 times 3 means 1/3 of 3. And we're trying to figure out what 3/5 of 1/30 is. So in order to do that, we need to do 1/30 times 3/5. Now, one thing that we want to remember is that we can cross cancel. So we know 3 can fit into itself once and 3 can fit into 30 10 times. Cross canceling will make there be less simplifying to do at the ends of the problem. In fact, no simplifying. 1 times 1 is 1. 5, 10 times 5 is 50. So 1/50 of the students. Lawrence is dividing 1/4 pound of cashews into 5 plastic bags. Okay, he's dividing 1/4 into 5 plastic bags. What fraction of a pound of cashews will be in each plastic bag? So what is he dividing and what is it being divided into? He's dividing 1/4 pound. That's what he's starting with. That's what he's dividing. He's dividing 1/4. So 1/4 divided by, he's dividing it into 5 plastic bags. So 1/4 divided by 5. First thing we need to do is give the whole number a denominator of 1. Then we need to rewrite the problem. The first fraction stays the same, the dividend. Then we reverse the sign from division to multiplication, and we flip the second fraction from 5/1 to 1/5. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 5 is 20. So it's 1/20 of a pound. All right, only one question left. The Great Rope Company sells a rope that is 5 feet long. Juan wants to make sections that are 1/3 foot long. How many sections will Juan be able to make? Use the model. Now, you can use the model if you want to, but we don't really need it. We know the rope is 5 feet long, and we know the rope is what's being divided. The rope is what's being cut up. That means the rope is being divided. So it's 5 divided by, he's dividing it into sections that are 1/3 foot long. So 5 is being divided by 1/3. First thing we do is give the whole number a denominator of 1, and then we need to rewrite it because the first fraction stays the same. Then the division is reversed into multiplication, and the second fraction is flipped from 1/3 to 3/1. And 3 times 5 is 15. 1 times 1 is 1. 15/1 is the same thing as 15. So he gets 15 sections. And that's it. Once you're done, remember, you don't press submit when you're done on the test tomorrow. Instead, you're going to go back to the beginning and check your work. Now, you would just reread all of the vocab questions. Make sure you chose the right answer. But then once you get to the ones you actually have to solve, like 1/3 times 21, look at how easy it is for me to find that. It's boxed off, and it's the first one I did, 1/3 times 21, so I can see if I did it correctly. 1 times 21 is 21. 3 times 1 is 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Okay, that looks right, and I chose 7. Now, I would do that for every single one. 1/2 times 26. 1/2 times 26. I would check all my work and make sure 13 is actually the correct answer. Then I would make sure that since I have 13 circled here, I would make sure I have 13 marked here. I need to do that with every single question before I submit the test. That's what you should always do. Now, I'm not going to do that right now just because it would make this video too long, but you should do that on the real test tomorrow. All right? Well, I hope this practice test was helpful for you, and I will see you next time. Signing off.